AMI is a not-for-profit institute located on the main campus of USC with the mission to help investigators and faculty, staff, and students to take their medical device ideas and move them towards commercialization. The institute was conceived and funded by Alfred Mann, a serial entrepreneur in the medical device industry who has successfully developed technologies, built companies, and launched products in areas such as insulin pumps, pacemakers, cochlear implants, retinal implants to help the blind to see, rehabilitation devices so that people can walk again.
The innovators who come to see us usually have a very philanthropic pursuit. They want to benefit society. And if they try to launch it by themselves, they discover that the world out there is an absolute nightmare. I lead the efforts of due diligence, where we as an institute start gathering all this information to see what is the business potential for this innovation and what are the obstacles.
One approach that the Institute takes in deciding on which programs to fund as internal projects is through the use of a pull model.
To create a product and try to push it down someone's store, it's a very, very difficult thing to do, and most likely it will fail.
We find programs that we're interested in funding, and then we examine them from the market perspective. So rather than just fund technology development and then look for a market using an approach such as, if we build it, they will come, instead we go out and ask customers, in this case patients and doctors, and also payers, what they need, and then drive towards those applications.
Make sure that there is a need and you're trying to solve a problem. Now, once you have that need, you can engineer the technology, you can engineer the product around that need. You can engineer products or technology around IP. And once you have shown that you can do all that, and it is a big market with lots of potential for return, the investors will come in.
One of the programs that we brought in a couple years ago was this program to develop a thermally triggered reversible adhesive. And the idea behind it was to take the adhesive that you would have on a dressing or a bandage and make it so that it was temperature sensitive. So that when you first put it on, it was at room temperature and it would adhere to your skin so it wouldn't fall off, but it wasn't a strong bond. Then what happens is your own body temperature triggers the adhesive to turn on by just putting a cold compress over the bandage that you would now trigger the adhesive off. The reason we developed it was to prevent damage to the skin when you go to remove a bandage or a dressing. Because there what can sometimes happen is you'll strip the newly healed skin off. We sat down with a faculty member at USC. He described this kind of adhesive and how it works in a wet environment. We tried it on skin. It didn't work at all, so we had to figure out a completely new chemical formulation to create the product that we now have. We're now in the last series of testing for that, and hopefully in the next 12 months we'll launch that product.
I could come here knowing my product, knowing my idea, but not knowing what to do next. And they put together a business team, they put together people who look at IP rights and IP restrictions, and we're able to sit down and work out a strategy with me that would allow me to take my product and deliver it to the outside world.
We worry about market need, and we have a due diligence process that we go through when the faculty or inventors come to us. Typically, they're not really attuned to looking at a very structured development program, which is what we run.
Well, the bar to launch medical innovations is pretty high. In fact, there are 12 stakeholders that need to benefit from the innovations for a product to be successful. There is first the patient. Of course, the patient wants a cure or a better treatment or a better way to more accurately diagnose a disease. The physician also would like to help the patient with a greater comfort, a faster recovery, so that they have more time for other patients. So something that they could delegate to a nurse would be very helpful to them. Hospitals also have a voice in this equation. Hospitals are looking for things that help them reduce the incidence of accidents and lower the legal liabilities that come with it. They even love solutions that allow them to free up some space on their floor so they can bring more products within their hospital walls. And then, you know, the FDA and the insurance agencies are the formidable stakeholders that need to be brought to the table. So when you look at all those players together that need to be in perfect alignment, it's nearly impossible for an inventor to make this happen by himself. And our role is to try to sort this out and facilitate this process.
The first thing that is really put together is a strategic business plan, a rollout strategy, which again encompasses the IP work, how do we package that and tell the story, the clinical work, how do we package that, tell the story, and what are the most important things we need to be doing on an annual basis, and then we break that down into a quarterly basis, and then we measure our progress against that and really keep that discipline in line so that all of the participants stay on course, because we have scientists, we bring in marketing people, we have market research people, we have clinical people, and we have to make sure we're keeping all those disciplines in line and marching to the same steps. So the strategic planning process is really key to the success of rolling it out.
About 2 years ago, I took on a challenge to help start a biopharmaceutical company to spin out from USC. And the folks here at the AMI Institute offered to help me with my management activities and fundamentally become a virtual management team for our entire organization. It makes a tremendous difference as an entrepreneur. For one thing, it helps me keep my cash at an absolute minimum, so our burn rate's relatively low. So we really can help leverage the technologies that we have and help build the organization to the point where we can get the necessary funding to do the things that we need to do, and for us specifically, conduct clinical studies on our novel biotherapeutics.
Pulse is a product that was developed here at the Institute over the last 4 or 5 years. It's now ready for prime time, if you will.
We can remove lesions without surgery, without scarring, and without any change in pigment. So this could be a very benign treatment for a lot of skin conditions.
We've had a lot of success in the clinical efficacy side of the business. We've had success on the regulatory side, and we're now ready to go to the next step. And we have put the plans together, and we're on the threshold of bringing in our first outside financing, which would take it out of the confines or the budget of AMI, and it will be funded by a third-party group. And we're in negotiations with that.
It's complex and important to know how to work with the FDA and to understand their rules and regulations, and we often advise inventors on appropriate pathways and procedures to get past FDA hurdles.
So in this rather plain-looking tube, there are 20 million unique compounds. And it turns out that one of them can function just as well, if not better in certain contexts, as the best breast cancer therapeutic out on the market today. And I was thinking, well, this can't really happen. You know, it'll be great, but it can't really happen, can it? And one of the great things about AMI is when I brought my idea to them, they were able to say, yes, this actually can happen.
We are non-judgmental. We truly appreciate every concept that is presented to us.
Our prime focus is on medical device development. They can be very simple or they can be complicated. They can be external devices, they can be internal devices. We don't do drug discovery or pharmaceutical development or diagnostics.
We are very flexible. I think that's one of our strong qualities, and I think every single employee here likes change, which you don't normally find in the workplace, but I think we all sort of thrive on change.
I think that the most exciting piece of being part of the AMI team is that we're continually looking at new technologies, but we're also looking at the clinical needs. So we're looking at what is out there, what needs haven't been met, and we're continually trying to figure out how to take technologies that we know of and use them to create new products, new devices that improve outcomes.
If there was one pearl that I'd say to the group, make sure you're solving a problem because the marketplace has no interest otherwise.